So, today is a special day. Full disclosure, I'm filming this after what you're about to watch. Um, but I wanted to say a little something before we get started. Um, as we all know, social media can be a bit of a black hole for your soul, doom scrolling and the like. And that's true. I've experienced that quite a bit myself. But it can also provide you with an opportunity for a relationship that you might not have otherwise had the opportunity to have. Um, in about 2019 or 2020, I watched uh, Gibson TV on YouTube, and they did a episode um, where a man by the name of Nick Perri was demoing the Gibson songwriter guitar. It was either a Dove or a songwriter. And he played some of his songs. And I had never heard of him, I'm embarrassed to say, until that point. Um, he was in a prominent band, which we talk about in this interview, called Silvertide in the early 2000s. Um, but I had never heard that band personally. Maybe I had heard it and I don't remember. Could be that as well. I'm pretty old and decrepit at this point. But anyway, so he played a song called "Let You Know," which is off of his seminal album Sun Via, and I fell in love with that song. And then he released a video. So what do? You see somebody on YouTube, you go follow them on social media. So I subscribed to his YouTube channel and followed him on Instagram. And gosh, like I just keep thinking like that line from the movie That Thing You Do, where Steve Zahn says, "Hey Skitch, how did we get here?" That's kind of how I feel about this. So start watching his videos, falling in love with his music. Um, and then on Instagram, if somebody posts a story and you reply in the comments, it goes to their DM on the stories, not on a post, but on the stories. And then I just realized that like he was being conversationally reciprocal. So like I would say something, it would go to his DMs, and then he would reply back to me, which is just wild to me. That a famous person would take the time to respond to a plebeian on Instagram. A lot of people don't. So right away, his character came off to me as exactly what we have found out over the years it is. He is a good human being on this earth. If he finds something funny, he'll laugh at your joke. He is insightful and accepting of conversation, and because of that, over the course of the last 5 years, um, we've sort of built up this little Instagram online based friendship. I am not getting this twisted. I am a fan of Nick Perri and the Underground Thieves. This is this is not an interview. This is like a dream come true. So like I am a fan. My kids are fans. My wife's a fan. We listen to his music around the house. That's what this is. So when I say a relationship, what I mean is I'll say stuff in his comments or on his Patreon page or, in his DMs. He responds to me when he has time. He's a busy man. He's playing on all kinds of records right now. And we talk about some of that in this interview. And seemingly we have a lot of similar interests, musically at the very least. And I find he's very charming. He's very easy to talk to. He might be the best interviewee. He has this really free-flowing stream of consciousness that is really easy to just sort of paddle down the river with, if you will. So how this happened was I had a dream that one day it would be worth next time to sit down and have a screen-to-screen, if you will, conversation with me. I wanted to interview him. I made that known at some point, maybe a year ago or so, once I started taking YouTube seriously, that I wanted to do that, but I wanted to take time to build the infrastructure of the channel to make the highway drivable for him, right? Like to make it worth his time to go down that road with me. And so, I've been doing my part to try and do that. And then one day, a couple weeks ago, I was just telling him that I had been doing Only Frets, which is our podcast, mine and Jonathan from Electric Flamingo. Go check it out if you haven't. On Wednesdays. And I said, maybe one day it'll be worth your time to sit down and do an interview with me. I'm very big on that. I when I say that, it's like I respect people's time. So I want what they get out of it to be worth it for them. Time is the ultimate commodity. And I don't want to ask somebody to do something for nothing. Plenty of people will do something for nothing, Nick Perri included. I stand to benefit more from having him on than he stands to benefit from being on. But the goal here is that I get this music to as many people as possible because I believe in the music. And so if I can help with my 240 subs to help his fan base widen, then that's exactly what I want to do. But realistically, you have a very gracious, prominent musician who has donated time to Sean Plays Guitar. So I want you all to just enjoy this interview. I want to thank you, Nick, for sitting down with me, for taking the time to let my kids meet you. That part was really cute, by the way. That won't be in this video, but I've saved that portion of the recording for them to hold on to, because I know if I would have had a chance when I was little to meet somebody famous, I would have loved to have a video of that. So I'm just keeping that for them. But thank you for sitting down with me, for giving up a bit of your afternoon to chat with a guy in his basement. But anyway, this is the Tone Deep interview with Nick Perri. Enjoy.
Sunset to sunset,
honest. I don't really know
You're
why.
welcome.
I don't care why. I'm happy that you agreed to do it. And, um, you know, like I had told you, I'm just trying to put it out in the universe and see what comes back. So,
My dad always says the squeaky wheel gets oil,
yeah,
and
or closed
uh,
mouth don't get fed, right?
yeah, same thing. So,
um, okay, so this is kind of a gear based channel ish. Obviously, I love music and everything to do with it, but you're a gear guy. And so the first question I have for you is kind of like a gear check. What's your current sort of go to guitar, amp, and maybe even a couple of pedals if you want?
that's a great question. My current, so I just moved. I don't expect everyone watching this to know that, but I've moved back and forth between LA and Philly. My hometown is Philadelphia. I moved back and forth. I want to say one, two, three, four, five, six. Second is the seventh cross country move. Okay. I'm never doing it again. This is it. I'm going to die in California. Um, and so I don't have all of my stuff, believe it or not, with me yet. I have most of it, but I don't have all of it in LA. And I basically have two rigs at the moment. Um, my like big rock big rock and roll rig is still in Philadelphia, and it's because I that's where Silvertide has been based all these years, and I kept stuff there on purpose for when Silvertide does stuff. So I have a Marshall JTM 45 and a 4x12, which is kind of the basis for um, the Silvertide. Really, that's only half the Silvertide rig. The other half belongs to well, there's a combination of pieces that belong to Rob Mondell and Doc Andrew Carbine. We call him Doc, and those are my guys. And Rob Mondell's been letting me borrow this beautiful Black Flag 1968 Marshall Plexi Tremolo, which is the best amp I've ever heard in my entire life.
Ooh.
It only has one volume, and it's stun. Like you go up to it's like it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and it's at full volume immediately. It has been modded. It's been poked around in there. No one knows exactly what was done, but no one wants to mess with it because it sounds so freaking good.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. And then I also use one of Doc's 4x12 cabs, and then there's a backup Marshall. So when I do the Silvertide rig, it's two Marshall heads that are always on through two Marshall cabs that are always on, and then a third Marshall head as a backup. That whole thing is usually with my Black Les Paul Custom Bella.
Mhm.
Um, and then with this last couple shows, I brought my childhood SG that I got back, which is
Right.
a 90s SG. And believe it or not, both of those guitars at the moment are not here. The SG is getting new frets um, at a local shop here in LA. I work on guitars. I have been working on guitars since I was a kid, but one thing I don't do is refrets. And one day I'll take the plunge and learn how to do it. But I've tried to do frets a number of times, and I just end up screwing it up. And it's like such a that's like its own craft, its own art form.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
so
I can
I
barely
let
even, like, file the ends of them properly, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't imagine, like, guys that are on YouTube space that, like, press them, polish them, level them, like, all the whole 9.
the level and crowning is really challenging because if it's not perfect, it won't play right. Like
Right.
you'll fret out. You know what I mean? Like you can't even make notes on the thing. So it's a little bit intimidating. But everything else I've sort of tackled in my guitar journey. And Bella, unfortunately, my Black Les Paul Custom that I've had since the beginning of Silvertide, that guitar, believe it or not, is in major surgery getting a new truss rod. The whole fingerboard has to come off. No one knows this yet, but the whole
Oh,
fingerboard has to come off.
no.
It has to get a new truss rod, and then the fingerboard and the binding and everything has to be like reinstalled. The good news is the guitar is with one of the top guitar techs in the world, um, Eric Coleman, aka Tones Chaser, from the Stu Mac legacy.
Oh, okay,
If
yes.
you if you don't follow Tones Chaser on Instagram, he's the best. Um, so that's like my Silvertide rig. My Underground Thieves rig typically would be half of that because, believe it or not, Silvertide is such a loud band that I need both of those amps to do that job. The Thieves are a larger band at times, but we don't need to play that. I mean, we still play loud. I play loud, but
Sure.
I don't need two Marshalls because my drummer actually plays at a normal human volume. Kevin from Silvertide plays at an alien volume.
That's like
And
that John Bonham volume level, right?
I know, and there's no quiet. It's just all loud.
I mean,
So
Silvertide does a thing, bro, and y'all do it really,
it
really well. So
it does a thing. Thank you. So um, normally the thieves rig would be one JTM 45 and a 412 and my Carina Flying V. I do have that here, and this is the best guitar um, probably ever owned.
yeah,
It's
it's
just a
so good.
very special instrument. I mean, dude, brands and years and all that stuff, like none of it really matters. What matters is like, are you inspired by the instrument and do you enjoy it? So, to finish the question, my California rig at the moment is a Park head with a Marshall 212. And if I was going to go do a gig tomorrow, I would take the Park head, the Marshall 212, and this Flying V.
Yeah,
I also have a Strat here that has come back into rotation that's just incredible. Um, and that is this guitar is an interesting story because the neck of this guitar I've had for over 20 years. This was um, the neck was made by the Fender Custom Shop when I was 17 or 18. You can see my name is put in on the 12th fret,
yeah, yeah.
Perri. Um, and this was a gift from Fender. Um, Long story short, through my record label, when we got signed by Clive Davis, blah blah blah, and I played the guitar on Show and Tell. So this neck somewhere on Show and Tell is represented
Yeah.
on that album. On tour, X amount of years later, the body, ironically, because Strats and Tellys are pretty indestructible, the body broke in a very bizarre way, like right cracked, like right down here,
Ooh,
and I had it professionally repaired. It just kind of never sounded the same,
yeah.
um, and so I ditched the body, and the neck went in the storage. And then years later, Tones Chaser, the same guy, Eric Coleman from Stumac, he found this body from me sitting in a trash, like they were going to throw it away because it has a giant knot here. And
Oh,
if the pickguard wasn't on it, you could actually see a hole right through it.
oh
But
wow.
dude, look at this! Look at this wood.
It's incredible, dude. I
It's a
I
one
literally
piece
drool over the Instagram photos of that thing.
it's a one piece swamp ash body. It's unheard of. This body with this grain is unbelievable. So he sent it to me, and just a one in a million chance that I made it because not all guitars we put together work.
Right?
Every piece of wood has a frequency, and it's like some of them work together and resonate together, and some of them cancel each other out. You just can't get any sustain and tone from it. And I've had plenty of guitars like that, and you want to make them work, and you change the pickups, and you do the thing, and you're just like, why doesn't this guitar sound good? And it's just sometimes it's because the wood just doesn't want to be a guitar.
It's not a good match. Yeah.
Yeah, not every tree works with every tree.
Right?
So this one just really worked and worked in a really big way. And this is the guitar that's on Fall and White Noise, a bunch of stuff from Sunvia.
Mm.
I actually sold this guitar. Unfortunately, at the time, I was pretty sad to pay to mix Sunvia.
I remember that.
Um,
I remember
and
when you had
then
to give that up. Yeah.
and it was a shame because I had my daughter's handprint here from when she was a baby and my two cats. But
Mhm.
to move forward as an artist was always the priority, and I was like, these are just tools, and like the main thing is that I get my album out, and I'm just lucky I was able to buy it back. And I
Yeah.
do have a list. I have a list of things that I would like to buy back one day.
Kind of the next the next thing, so you can just keep rolling on that. But you are an artist first, which I can appreciate, and anybody who is in the YouTube space can honestly appreciate, because it's like I can I can be sentimental about all my guitars. Like, I don't want to get rid of them. I don't have to necessarily, but it is not my job, or probably even my calling, to just make music as a living. Where you are in an interesting place where it's like you have to weigh sometimes what's the most important thing. And you've had to do it a few times over the course of your career, which I find but you are very sentimental about your gear, because you keep a list and you go get them back. They're not just tools for you. They're like people. They're like a part
That's
of your
interesting.
story. So I know that you are very good, like disciplined about weighing what's the most important thing. But what I find interesting about you that maybe not everybody has, or not every artist is like this, is that you're very sentimental about your guitars. So maybe you could just touch on that for a little bit, you know?
I feel seen. um, in a good way. It's funny you said that because I hadn't really thought about it in that way. That I do have a list, and I must. It must be important because I do. And I've actually sold some pedals last year. A couple that I know right off the top of my head that, like, I know exactly who I'm calling when I want to buy them back. Like, they're on the list.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, I mean, we've said it already here a second ago, but the priority to me is to keep making art and to keep moving forward and keep my career moving forward. I know that, and not to be morbid and stuff, but like, I know that we're all going to die one day. I'm going to die. I'm not going to be able to take the guitars or anything with me. I'm not going to be able to take, money with me. I'm not going to be able to take anything with me except my life experiences that I've had on this planet. So the real currency of my life, and really always has been, is experiences more than, let's say, dollars and cents. We all need money to live. We need money to facilitate um, existing on this planet, um, which is its own thing that we're not going to get into. Um, how cool would it be if, like, the world just made like different choices and we didn't have to, like,
My
pay
wife
pay
always
rent
says,
to live on Earth? Like,
"Why
it
do we
doesn't
need
make sense.
money?" That's what she always says. Why do we even need
Why
money?
do we have to pay to live on the Earth in which we're born?
No. Why am I paying for water,
Animals
bro?
don't. Yeah, why are we paying for fucking water? It's so stupid. Anyway, my priority has always been moving forward and making art, making music, making records. Um, it's because it's what I want to do, and I've actually thought quite a bit recently in the wake of uh, Cairo's passing and some other things
Condolences, by the
that,
way.
like, thanks, man. Um, the way that I look at the world right now, and I mean, this kind of all relates to all the things we're talking about: music, art, gear, all of the stuff. um, the most important thing to me, and I'm realizing that, growing up, it was like we have this idea of legacy, of like, oh, what am I going to leave behind, what am I going to, you know to me, as I get older, I'm realizing that that's really just another word for ego, is legacy. It's just
Yeah.
it's what am I going to do? How am I going to be remembered? It's anything that starts with I is usually ego, and not all ego is bad, but it is still ego nonetheless. Like, my theory now is that, like, who gives a shit about the legacy? Like, the planet eventually is going to burn up, when it gets close enough to the sun, and none of it's going to matter. Like, again, like, the most important thing is experience, and, like, am I enjoying the experience of being alive and being human? And some of these things, guitars, are part of that. Music and the experience of being touched by music, relationships, our family, our friends, the moments that there's, like, special moments that only we know when we have them, and we're experiencing them as people. I remember once I was in Aspen, and I was coming down like a I was in one of those things that takes you down the mountain, and it was
Gondola.
actually during the summer, a gondola.
Yeah.
I'm not a snow guy or like a skier or snowboarder. I actually went during this summer. I was playing a show with Perri and we played in Aspen, and it was beautiful. It was like all the mountains were green and lush, and it was gorgeous. And I remember just being up there and going down this gondola. I'd been to the top of the mountain and then all the way down, and I had like this incredible moment of just like realizing I was like alive on the planet, but in a really deep and like um, transcendent way. And these things are like, I feel like what makes us rich. And these are like the real special things. And I remember getting that flying V and having a really special moment because my whole life I wanted a Carina flying V. And I remember seeing Albert King as a kid. And when I first got it home and I hit the first notes, it was like you couldn't wipe the smile off my face with a 2x4. It was just, yeah, it was perfect. And so those are the things that really matter to me. And I've had to make some decisions, and I think that I'm not alone in this boat. But some people in my position, um, what we do is when we make money, we buy gear, and when we need money, we sell gear. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. And really, the priority for me is staying inspired. So, um, a new guitar, as you know, a new pedal, a new amp, any gadget, any kind of thing that we acquire in our journey of tone of our evolution as players and sonic voyagers, as George Trips would say. Um, for me, that is just about being inspired because you never know what kind of song or what kind of thing is going to present itself from this thing. So it's like when I got that acoustic guitar, like I wanted one of those again for like my whole life. I wanted a vintage Gibson guitar, vintage Gibson acoustic. I'd heard the sound on records and I didn't know what it was. And it was like, oh, that's like a 50s
I
Gibson
know what you
acoustic. Like
mean.
it
I
has a
can
sound.
tell when it's a Gibson Jumbo, right? Like, you can just tell when it's one of the
Yes, and you're right. And the thing is though, it's like I knew that there were songs in that, you know, and I knew that
Yep.
there were songs in my Flying V and songs in my Strat, and there's songs in every pedal that I buy or every amp. Is like there's always something there to explore and some inspiration. And so it's like again, those are the priorities for me. Like moving forward, keep making art, keep making music, keep making records, staying inspired. Like how do I keep going? So less important to me is um, what I have to do to keep going. The more important thing is that I am keep going. But an interesting observation that you just made is that I must deep down have connections with some of these things. And it's not all of the equipment, but there is some equipment that I've obviously had some connection with, and given the chance, I'll want to reacquire that
Yep.
thing. The Strat I knew I had to reacquire because it had my daughter's handprint and my cat's, and it was just too. And the guitar sounds godly. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have been in the conversation. But with stuff like that, like it was on the list, and I was like counting down the days to buy it back.
Right. And it's like, it's that acoustic, it's the Strat, it's the V, it's the SG, and it's Bella. And that's like those are Nick Perry guitars to me, like when
They
as
are,
a fan, like when I'm like, those are the ones. It's like, what's that burst in the back there? Like, where's Bella? I mean, I'm sure the burst is great, but you as a
yeah,
fan, the interesting perspective is, and a guitar player, I become attached to your guitars for you, which is like a really weird thing, where you're like, well, what do you mean you got to sell the And it's like, okay, well,
yeah.
your reason makes sense. So, I mean, I do think you're a sentimentalist in that way, but I think that it's very admirable the way that you do it, and then you always keep track of where they're at, and they always seem to reappear. The next question was actually to continue. I have a couple of Nick Perry
Whoa,
signature pedals here. We've
yes,
got
you
the
do.
Feeling Good Fuzz from Dustin Francis, the Cunningham amps, MK1. And my question was going to be about those, as far as how did I know that you had the Dustin Francis Fuzz and that you've used that on Sun Via. Oh, where's the Sun Via album? Right back there. You used
Nice.
that on Sunvia. But how did the relationship get struck? You bought a pedal, and I mean, or how did that go?
I can't remember if it was my friend Owen Barry, the guitarist, British guitarist, probably one of the best guitar players on the face of the earth. I think it was him, and in one of our many tone deep deep well dives into the world of tone and at the time fuzz faces. I think he turned me on to Dustin Francis's stuff, and I watched a few of his YouTube videos, and I just thought the tones were unbelievable. Dustin is a very good player, so like it was nice to actually be able to hear these things being demoed by a really good player. Um, and it turns out, and I didn't know this, but he knew who I was, and he grew up listening to Silvertide and had like this experience with Blue Jeans, which was a Silvertide song,
Yeah.
with like a girl that he dated in college or something. So like he had a life experience, and so it really connected us pretty quick. And I think that the first pedal I bought from him was the '68 BC 183 black fuzz face, and on the inside he wrote me a note and he said like, "Dear Nick, thanks for Blue Jeans," and signed it on the inside of the pedal.
So cool.
And that's the one that I ended up using to record "Feeling Good." The thing is, I had Dustin modify that fuzz pedal for me, the fuzz face, before he sent it. We were having a conversation, and I told him that um, I love Fender guitars. I have a Strat, but I was like, I'm really in at the moment. I'm really, I'm a Gibson guy. There's no denying it. And I was like, hey, I really want to use this pedal with like my Les Paul and my Firebird and my SG. And I don't remember how we ended up there, but he suggested that there was a very easy, simple mod that he could do, which would essentially just move the high pass filter a little bit, like cut a little bit of bass, so that it would just be a little bit more usable on the low end. It wouldn't be as blown up on the low end, and I could use it with a Les Paul, and it maybe would cut a little bit better. Which, by the way, if you take a fuzz bass and you high pass it even more and much more drastically, you basically end up with a 1.5 tone bender anyway. They're the same circuit almost. It's just you change a couple values, and all of a sudden it changes the sound, and that's why the 1.5 is a very cool circuit and very close to a fuzz face. The one is different. We'll talk about it. The three is different. The two is different. The four is different. But the 1.5 is basically a fuzz face with with much less low end
Right.
and different transistors. But the circuit's the same. So anyway, I loved it and I used it for years and I used it to record "Feeling Good," and then it was something that we had talked about doing for a long time, and then one day it just, excuse me, all the pieces just kind of fell into place and we decided to do it. And so that's an exact replica. I mean, the box looks different because he's not allowed to legally um, make um, fuzz faces. No one is except Dunlop.
Yeah.
When he works on fuzz faces, basically he's modifying, um,
Right.
and that's how he's doing it. So we needed to do something unique and original, but it's basically all original parts from 1968. I mean, it's like stepping back in time. The only difference is it has my mod baked into it, and it's in a really cool and unique box. And we thought it was fun, and it says "Feeling Good," and then now. So when you
I
press it,
love that. Yeah, the little
yeah,
now. Yeah. I mean, this is always on the board for me. Like that's my preferred fuzz tone. I love this pedal, but I actually can't reach from where my my current pedal board. I can't reach a cable over for this. I know this has the battery too, but we'll talk about that one after. But I don't know why I connected with this, but this is the first fuzz I've ever owned, and that could be why. So tying it all back into what you were saying, gear is experience based for a lot of people, and sounds like it was experience driven for Dustin as well. I think that's such an awesome
totally, dude.
story. you know?
It's a true story, and you're exactly right. It's an experience based thing.
Yeah. Um, and then maybe we can talk about how the Tim Cunningham Mark One. I know you were using that as well. That was another pedal that you had, and then a relationship struck up that way or something.
Yeah, so I was um, through Instagram connected with um, Tim Cunningham through a mutual friend of ours named Robert. Um, Lost Canyon, Lost Crystal Canyon, I think is his Instagram handle.
Okay.
Um, he's got a cool vintage aesthetic. They both live in New Zealand, I believe. And Robert had done a signature fuzz, or not a signature fuzz, but he had done like he commissioned Tim to make some MK1s, which were kind of like MK1s on one side and like Zonks on the other side, because I guess that circuit's similar. Um, I actually don't know a ton about the Zonk, but I think it's similar to an MK1. Um, and I at some point in time I had acquired one of these pedals, which was a collaboration between Robert and Tim, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. It was a big and bombastic tone, and I played it for a little while, and then I put it to the side. And it wasn't until I came back out to LA to play on Luke Spiller from the Struts to play on his solo album. I played on guitar on his whole album, minus two songs. But on just on a whim, I brought that pedal out, and I ended up in the studio, and the producer was looking for like a big explosive tone, and I just stepped on it, and it was the way I had the amps dialed and just the right perfect storm of things. But it like was this massive sound. I didn't quite get that experience when I was in Philly and I had gotten the pedal initially. Any number of variables could have been different to lead to a different experience, right? But in the studio, it was incredible, and it ended up being all over Luke's record. And then I started using it on other records and other records and other records, and I started doing a ton of sessions. I took it everywhere with me last year, and just an incredible sounding pedal. And um, I don't remember how it came up, but again, at some point in the conversation with Tim, we were talking about like this particular one is I don't know what his other ones sound like. They're all, of course, similar in some ways, but they're all different because they're all different parts with different tolerances and yada yada. And I was like, this particular one, whatever one that I ended up with, 3,000 miles away from where he is, or 6,000 miles, or how New Zealand's far.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, this particular one sounds freaking amazing. Like, what if we try to like clone this one and turn it into a signature pedal? So that's what became the MK1, and it's different enough from the um, fuzz face that it's a completely different sound.
Oh, they're not even close. They're not
No,
even.
it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
So
I love the
for people,
artwork that you chose there too.
thanks, man.
So cool.
For people who don't know, it's a more spittier, velcro-y tone. It's actually a more distorted tone. But what's really cool is as much as it can be velcro-y and like staccato, it also sustains like crazy. So it's dependent on your volume and how hard you're playing and the dynamics that you're playing with, and it's very responsive to the touch. The fuzz face is kind of like fuzz face is its own beast. And finicky and doesn't sound good through every amp, and you have to really like mess with fuzz faces to get them to do what you want, and then they're incredible. The MK1, you could stick it in front of any amp and it just pretty much sounds good.
Yeah.
So it's a
This
very
is
usable fuzz.
pushing the boulder up the cliff with a smile on your face the entire time. This is rolling down the cliff at a speed you can't control on the other side. Like you flip this thing on, you don't even need a pick. It's just you don't even need, like you're just running pentatonic with your fingers. You don't need tapping
That's
on
a great
this. It's great.
that
It
was a
it
great
does its.
metaphor, dude.
Oh, what's that?
That was a great metaphor.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of how I would describe them. I would say, I mean, I think home runs for both as a just a guitar player and a lover of of tone and stuff like that. Like they're both fantastic. So I've been really happy with both of those.
All I
Um,
can say is wait till you hear and see the next one.
I was gonna say, is there anything you'd like to tease? I definitely won't pressure you at all, but I saw something on Instagram that made me go, "Huh?" So looking forward to whatever that is. Um,
Yeah, there's a new collaboration in the works. I can't say what it is. I can't say anything more than it's another collaboration with a really well respected guy in that world and a good friend of mine, and it's going to be off the hook.
I'm really excited for it.
It's going to be off the hook.
Think anybody's interviewed you since you released Be With You. So I thought
No, no,
now would be a cool time to maybe you could just talk about that song, what it meant, how it got made, where you wrote it, anything you want to talk about. I would love to know.
All that I have, I only wanna be with you. As long as it's you and me, baby, that's enough.
sure. I actually did an interview, a video interview. It hasn't been edited yet and it hasn't come out yet. With my friend Matt Scannell, the lead singer of the band Vertical Horizon from the '90s, who I
Oh
grew up
yeah,
a
yeah,
huge
yeah.
fan
I
of.
remember them.
Um, so so that's coming up, but no, you're the first person to ask me about it in person, and live. So I in 2023 was sitting in an attic. I built an attic studio, in Mount Holly, New Jersey, just outside of Philly. I was staying for a time, um, to be near my parents during the pandemic. They wanted to be near my mom's mom, and we're all like helping each other out through a weird time. And I built this studio on the third floor, and I wrote a lot of songs up there, and for the most part had a pretty decent time. And I sat down one night, when everybody was in bed, and I just literally, sometimes you just sit and you just like noodle, and you just noodle.
Yep.
And some nights you get and stuff comes out, and riffs and ideas and little pieces of songs. And then every once in a while, and I remember, Let You Know was written this way. The Pines was written this way. Um, number of other songs. There's just that spark, man, that right thing, right time. You just grab a hold of the lightning bolt, just barely,
Where's my
and hold
pencil?
on for and I just sat down and I just went, I only wanna be with you, and it just happened. Like, where did it come from? Like, I had the chord, I had the melody, and I had the lyric all in 1 second. Like, I didn't even know where it came from, and I'm looking around the room like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
And I hashed out as much as I could right then and there, because I've learned that, like, if you don't like go back to it later and expect that same magic. You have to like get as much out as you can while the faucet's open.
Yeah.
So I got as much as I could out, and at that time it was basically I got, um, most of the arrangement, and I got most of the music, and I got the chorus melody. I got some of the verse melody, no lyrics yet, and I had the chorus melody and the first line and the main line of the chorus. Um, and then over the next few months, I would revisit it every once in a while, and I kept getting stuck, which
Mm.
isn't normal for me. And I guess simultaneously to all of this, I had developed sort of a friendship, bromance, if you will, on Instagram with, Matt Scannell from Vertical Horizon. I grew up a fan of Vertical Horizon, and I remember being in high school and having that music like was like part of the soundtrack of our lives in the summers of being young and a teenager. And I remember the songs on MTV and VH1, the videos and the songs on the radio. And somewhere along the way, which is a whole story for another time, I did get hooked up with Matt, and I ended up talking to him um, 20 years ago briefly about something, but we never met, and we never really stayed in touch beyond just that one encounter. But he was very nice, very
Yeah.
kind. And then all these years later, I was listening to a record of his, and I was like, I wonder what he's doing. And I looked him up on Instagram, and not only is he like active and participating, but he's a guitar guy and seemed like really like accessible. So I just messaged him and it was like, dude, like he remembered me. Obviously, I remembered him, and we just struck up a friendship. And after a year of sort of being friends online, I moved back out to LA, and I hit him up one day and I was like, dude, I was like, I've got this song. And I was like, it's really, I mean, I didn't say this on the phone to him, but I knew in my mind it was like pretty pop. I mean, it's a rock song, but it's leaning in the pop, you know, thing. And I was like, it's like it's going there. And I was like, I want to take it like all the way. Like I want to go like for the jugular. Like let's
Yeah.
go all the way. Bryan Adams, like big pop rock, big song.
It is
And
reminiscent of Bryan Adams now that you mention that.
and
I mean, it's
I
you,
love those records.
but
Yeah,
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 it's waking up the neighbors, right? I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I wanted to go really and steer it in that direction. And I was just thought that, you know, he was the guy. And I called him and I was like, hey, I've got this song idea. Do you want to sit down and finish it with me? And he said yes. And I went to his place, and I played him the song. And I mean, anything could have happened at that point. He could have either A, not connected with the song, um, sort of like was polite and worked on it a little bit, but didn't really feel it, or it didn't work out, or it could have been that he liked it and we just didn't get magic. But all the things lined up for it to be a home run. And it was a great day. He loved the idea. We just jumped in immediately, and 4 or 5, 6 hours later, the song was done, and I ended up going home and doing an acoustic demo. Um, really liked it, and then started little by little, like entering the recording process. And then it was like my job as a producer was like, okay, I've got this great song. Everybody who I've played it for thinks it's a home run. I think it's a home run. Matt thinks it's a home run. Like all I have to do is just like not ruin it now, which is a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Because
My pretty
producing
little pet.
I know that's exactly right. Oh, I love him. I love my
Yeah.
little So, uh, man, that's so funny. So I didn't want to screw it up, and it was I put everything that I know and worked my whole career up until this moment producing, and not only being an artist and a songwriter and a guitar player, but I've been producing my whole life. And I just put everything I knew into this. I was like, I'm going all the way. Like Waiting for You and some of the songs on Terra Firma, I felt like were really good, like warm up to what my like sensibilities were to really like go all the way. And this was just like a freaking layup. Just like I
Yeah.
knew what I wanted. I knew I had it in my head. I just had to figure out how to actually physically do it. And once I got into it, man, it flowed so easily. And I just had to make sure I didn't I didn't take any it was just instinct. It was just instinct. And I didn't want to squeeze it so tight that I killed it. I left room for sort of the natural um, little things to kind of come in and out and make the song better, which always happens if you're not closed off. You always, like, as you're in the middle of recording, there's always something that you weren't expecting, good or bad, that happens that influences some part of the recording. And oftentimes it's good if you can like get out of your own way.
Yeah.
You leave room for something nice and something awesome to happen if you can get out of your own way.
Well, you're very
So
good
all
at
those
that.
things.
I mean, all of your songs from my experience, I haven't heard one that's just like we gotta cram it all in there. Like there's always room to breathe while you're listening. It makes listening to your music really like just super natural, like flipping on a light switch. Like it just to me in my brain and the way that it connects with me and even like my kids love it and it's just very it's very natural. So like when I heard Be With You, I thought of I Want to Be Free. Like it has that bop, like the pop thing you're talking about, but it's very rock and roll still. Like it's still you. It doesn't, I don't know. It's just a really great song. I think you nailed exactly what you were trying to do, at least from a listener's perspective.
Thanks, man. I'm really proud of it. I think it's among my best work. And I have no idea what comes next. I'm in uncharted waters. That's exciting and scary at the same time. But I know that I'm very proud of that song. I've got a really long campaign going for that. I just shot a 2-day music video for the song.
Nice.
And there's a whole bunch of stuff that's still coming, promotion wise with that song. So, yeah, it's just an exciting moment. I'm glad you asked me about it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I love the recording, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And I got to work with a hero of mine in the process, which is so cool.
Right. I mean, yeah, again, back to the experiences, right? Like you can take that with you all the way. And that's, how you're doing your uh what's your rewind? What's your series
Rewind
called?
and ride.
We Rewind and Ride, right? Which I love because we're tape nerds and all that. But some some kid, you know, later on in life is gonna do a rewind and ride with, you know, that song.
The trivia for you. This was Everything You Want was the most played song
Yeah.
in eh, for sure in America. I don't know if it's the whole world. It might just be in them, but it was the number one most played song in the year 2000. Was the single off this record called "Everything You Want." It was the biggest song in the
How
country.
did
Like
it
it
go
was
again?
the number one song.
I can't.
Um, he's everything
Yes,
you want.
that's it.
He's everything you need. Yeah,
Yeah, I got it. Dude, I knew.
and
I
then at
don't
the
know
end,
why I thought it
I
was
am.
that other song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and "You're a God" was a huge single. Uh, that song I remember seeing the music video for. That had the girl Tiffany Amber Thiessen from Saved by the Bell was in that music video. Um, yeah, this was like part of my childhood, and just really cool. They just celebrated the 25th anniversary of this album coming out.
That's amazing.
Crazy, crazy.
Um, I brought, well, besides my autographed Nick Perri cassette collection. I don't know why I did it on the cassettes. I didn't want to do it on the vinyl because I think because the vinyl was going to get pulled in and out of the record shelf like constantly and the kids are, they like them and so I was like, if I do it on the cassettes and then you did everybody a solid and you signed the paper on the inside. So it's protected from the plastic. So I think that's why I did the autographs on the tapes. But
Nice.
this one, I don't know if you ever how old are you again?
I'm 40.
Okay, so you know this one. Hold on, we're reflecting.
There's a glare
Dude
on you.
Ranch, Blink 182.
I mean, I know the band, and I obviously it was around my time, but I was never a giant fan. Like I didn't have that record.
That's fair. I
I
mean,
was I was a Green Day guy. I was a
everybody
Green
had
Day
their
guy.
own, there's my Coheed and Cambria tattoo. One
Nice.
of two.
How old are you?
I'm 40.
Okay, because I was gonna say either some people are Green Day, some people are Blink, some people
Right.
are both. I guess.
I mean, I
Keep
love
going.
Dookie. Like that was
Yeah.
that was transformative, better than Ezra. I mean, I know, I think we experienced this huge influx of music in our time. I mean, it was
Oh,
just
it was incredible. The '90s were
so
incredible.
good. And we had, I don't know about you, but my dad he always played music. like was a is a guitar player and a singer. So he had like cover bands. So I was like listening to Journey or the stuff that came before me as well. So it like grew. I remember I was like 3 and he had taught me that Jimi Hendrix choked on his own vomit. And they had a band practice and he brought me in and he said, "All right, check it out, boys." He's like, "Sean, who's that?" And I was like, "Jimi Hendrix." And he's like, "How'd he die?" "Choked on his own vomit." It was like his party trick for, so I kind of grew up in this um thing, but our time as like teenagers, it might be one of the, I just feel like your music isn't, I think I sent you that article I tried to write a little while ago. Maybe it wasn't that good, but
No, it was good, and I was flattered and honored that you wrote that anybody would write anything, but that you did a nice job on that.
well, I appreciate that, but the point is that I just feel like it doesn't make sense to me that you and a large swath of other acts are not bigger. There's no new rock and roll music on the radio. There's no radio station for that. It's hip hop and pop, which is fine. There's a place for everything, or classic rock, but there's nothing for guys like you and gals, in that vein, like Larkin Poe and Tyler Bryant and all these people, Jared James Nichols and all these other people that are keeping rock and roll alive. It's very frustrating to me. So I just don't understand. And that's because I'm not in the industry, probably. I mean, you literally became a man while doing music in the industry. So you probably get it a lot better than I do, but I have a hard time. I struggle with it mentally.
I mean, I'm there with you, man. I've had to kind of make a certain peace with it. I say this, and I try to absorb my own words as I'm saying them, and I do believe this. But every time I say it, it's also a pep talk. It's a reminder that the reward is in the doing, the reward is in the recording, the reward is in the process of creation. Um, there was a time where I was attaching my well-being and my happiness level and my peace of mind and all those things to the outcome, and it was a disaster,
Sure.
because we don't have control over the outcome. Um, we just don't. And there are situations where like things are more probable than others. Um, but even then, it's like you just never know. Like, Silvertide got the biggest push in the world and millions of dollars spent, and we got as close as you could get. What's that line that old Greg says? As close as you can get without getting your eyes wet or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Something like that. That's pretty close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and like we got as close as you could get, um, without like crossing that threshold into like worldwide notoriety. Like we got close, um, and it just didn't happen. And I had to make peace with that. And all the other projects I've done, um, have done what they were going to do, but they didn't connect in a way that, in the traditional conventional sense of like, on a worldwide scale. And it's okay and it's cool. And by the way, I'm not out. Like I'm not.
No, and
And
also
anything can happen at any
we're
time.
not
And
having a
also,
pity party here. You're wildly successful. You've been everything you've done is a success. Like I'm not sitting here going like poor Nick. I'm saying I don't understand the
I
ethos
know,
of.
by the way, I'm not saying that you were saying that,
No,
but
no, I know. Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
no. I'm saying like it's not up to me. It's not up to the timing, and there's so many millions of probable variables that exist between the seen and the unseen. Um, and for things to line up to be like to go all the way. I mean, even what happened with my sister, like she had a song that really did, two songs that really did go all the way into the public consciousness of the world. And for that to happen, it's like a one in a million, one in a billion.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I'm going to give up anytime soon. I'm not making art for that reason. I didn't, when I was a
Right.
kid, I didn't say like I wanted to start music to be famous. Like I didn't give a shit about that. I just wanted to play guitar and be in a band and have fun and make music, and
Yeah.
those things still excite me. So, and I really think I'm doing my best work now. So not when I was
Agreed.
18. I'm very, very proud of the show and tell record, very proud of the work we did in Silvertide and the work I did since with Mount Holly and with some of the other bands. But every song I'm putting out and everything I'm putting out is getting better and better and better and better and better. So I'm cool with where I'm at. I've made peace with where I'm at, and um, I'm taking um, my reward is in the doing. Of course, I would want Be With You to reach as many people as possible, to be on a TV show or um, in some sort of situation where it could be heard. And of course, I'd like to make money
Yeah.
um, on the song when and
Be able
when and
to buy
however
that
possible.
Firebird back. I know that one's on the list.
It's on the list. Um, so of course I want those things, but I'm not A, losing sleep over it anymore. I'm B, I've detached my self-worth and my peace of mind and my intrinsic value from the success of a certain song or album. I know that I'm a success. It has nothing to do with how many records I've sold. It's the fact that I'm still standing and that I'm a human being and I'm a decent human being and that I'm like Rocky. I'm like the underdog who's going the distance. Rocky didn't win and Rocky won. He
Right?
he won by going the distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
100%.
that's like a big, and especially because I'm from Philly, like that's like hugely um influential on everybody that I grew up with, on all of our lives, because it's like the story that we're like bred into
It's
this
the
idea, but it's really
mentality of a
true.
whole generation from Philadelphia, but it definitely has that fighter mentality. So I think you're exhibiting that really well, and applying it perfectly.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Um, well, we talked about what was next. We talked about tapes and pedals and gear and your wonderful new music. Why don't you tell me what's going on with Spiller before we go?
Luke is the man. I love Luke. So as you probably just saw, I just posted today. Luke is going to be on an upcoming episode of Rewind and Ride. He's just my friend. He's been my friend for like 15 years. So I go way back with him, and I've played in the Struts. As you know, there's been two occasions
Right.
where Adam needed to take a small leave of absence, and I got to play in the band and toured with them. And Queens of the Stone Age was the last tour that I did with them in Canada, which was incredible. So they're very good friends of mine. And I was honored when Luke asked me to play guitar on the record. So I'm playing. He's releasing his debut solo record in April. Um, it is April, isn't it?
It
This
is.
month, and April 25th, I think.
Nice.
And I'm playing all the guitars on the whole album minus two songs. Um, and it was a real thrill to do. We made the record a year and a half ago already, which is crazy. And yeah, it was great. Like the songs are great. I'm super excited for people to hear the record. The record is great. The songs are great. The production's great. Um, and he's just my dude. So we're friends and we're collaborating together. And I'm going to be playing some more shows with him. There's no question about that. And um, probably collaborating with him for a long time. We hit it off in a way that it's hilarious because he is a British gentleman. You know what I
He is.
mean? He's a British fucking rock star, and I'm this like kind of rough dude from Philly. And like on paper, it doesn't really work, but it is our relationship and our rapport. It works perfectly, and you can watch it in this rewind and ride video because it's a 10-minute long. On social media is only going to get a minute or two, but there's going to be this is my first episode that's going to go long form content for YouTube,
That's so awesome.
widescreen, and all the episodes are going to be a little bit bigger and longer and set up to be more of a YouTube thing where I'll take clips and put them on social media. But the interview's really funny and it's like you can totally see it's just like these two completely different people, from different ends of the earth, with completely different backgrounds, and we just our rapport is just really good, and somehow it works. It's funny, and we have a blast. So he's just a friend and someone that I enjoy hanging out with and working with.
That's great. I mean, the Struts are incredible. I think uh the two of your, like, the way he sings. I've heard some of the early, snippets and stuff from his songs, and I don't know if I'm hearing your influence on how he's writing music, or if I'm just hearing a really nice mariage of, sounds
What a
like
word!
what
No, I I
like,
I, I didn't have any influence on his writing for this solo record. He's very theatrical and loves um, Bruce Springsteen and um,
that's why you guys get
uh,
along. He loves
yeah,
Springsteen.
uh, the boss. No, but he grew up with musical theater, and he has so many influences. And I mean, some of the record sounds like James Bond stuff. Like, I mean, it's really just like super cool and vibey, and like there's moments where it's almost like a male Del Rey vibe. Like it's just a kind of this like classic '60s crooner moments mixed with rock and roll and mixed with saxophone, like through Springsteen stuff, and it's really an amalgamation of all the things that he loves. I was able to come in and, of course, add some of what I do and give some weight to the riffs and some guitar little exclamations here and there. And I also did the tender stuff and the acoustic stuff. But it really, I can't take credit for his direction. He knew exactly what he wanted, and he showed up with the vibe there ready to go. So he's been waiting for a while to do this, and um, he actually started working on a rock musical about 11 years ago, and I played on the demos of that 10, 11 years ago.
Wow.
That hasn't seen the light of day yet, and it may or may not. Um, but he's always had more up his sleeve than just the Struts, and not that he would need to. The Struts are
Sure.
complete and wonderful and awesome on their own right, but he's just a mega talent. So he's able to do that and still have room um, on his plate for more, which is impressive.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to the whole thing. I'm an album guy. Like, I've always
You're
been
gonna love the album. It's
I've
so good.
always been an end to ender. I don't know what that is, or if that was my dad told me that and that's stuck, or what, but I've always, if I can't go start to finish with it, I typically don't buy it. You know, I'm not a singles guy. I mean, I love singles. I love to hear, songs on, but I actually got rid of Spotify recently, and I will be giving my money directly to artists. I actually try to buy, like, all your stuff that I bought was direct from your website. I try to skip any third party where I can and go directly. I just bought Bloom by Larkin Poe, bought that off their
Nice.
website. Or wait, did I get that for? I got that one for a
Thank
present.
you for that. That's really cool, and I wish more people did that. That's a very good way to help support the artists that you enjoy the music. That's the way. That's the way.
I mean, I also can. Here's the thing: it's like, okay, so it's $35 for the record. It's fine. I own it. It's $35 for the rest of my life. It's an experience, right? Like, it's playing a record's an experience. Listening to something in your headphone is to pass the time. Playing a record's an experience. So we go end to end at this house. Like, that's just the way it works.
You know what? A cool thing that someone said to me. I never forgot this line about vinyl. What makes vinyl so magical is that when you put on a vinyl record, you listen with intent.
Yeah, you got to stop. You got to be like, is that the last song on the thing?
You
Flip
got
it.
to go. You got to pick it out. You got to
Mhm.
take it out. You got to dust it off. You listen with intent. There's nothing like, it's not like some background. it's just like, you know exactly what you're doing. You're not putting that record on by accident. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So there's an intent there, which is really strong, which offers a connection to the music in a way that is different and I think more special than other formats.
I agree. Cassette tapes are the same way. I mean, I think that's why what you and I probably have in common there with physical. We seem to always like, you'll post something and be like, oh man, like, it's our age, it's when we grew up, it's how much we love music probably, and all that stuff. But the physical media, to me, actually, it was a reason why artists could survive for so long. Like, it was a reason why going to see a concert might be $20 instead of 60 or $65. And not that I'm not complaining. I want artists to get paid so that they can keep making money, but like, it seems like Spotify, Apple Music, maybe, like, to me that's a means to an end. If I want to hear Nick Perri in the car and I don't have a sweet Trans Am with a cassette deck in it, I need it on an iPod or something that I can plug in. So I'll actually buy the vinyl. If I really love the album, I'll get the cassette, and then I'll go on Apple Music and I'll buy the album on Apple Music and put it on my iPod or my phone. And that's how I'm doing it from now on, because then I get to be intentional. I get to buy only the albums that I really am interested in. Queens of the Stone Age, Times New Roman, great album. Bought that one,
Yeah.
but I didn't buy the vinyl. I just bought the MP3 because I knew I needed it for the car. But it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't a thing where intentionally I know I'm gonna go, put this record on and listen to the whole thing. So I think it gives me layers and levels to listening to music. But I'll say this, brother, these bad boys are probably always going to be, anytime there's a new Nick Perri and the Underground Thieves come out, that'll be purchased probably 3 times.
Oh, thanks, man. That's so cool. I really appreciate the support. You've been an awesome um, person to correspond with online, and you've been a huge supporter for so many years. I'm really grateful to have you on board, and it was my pleasure to talk to you and to do this. And thank you for the years of support to you and your family. I think it's so cool, and you're a good dad, a good human being. I've enjoyed the musical camaraderie back and forth, that we've had, and yeah, man, the best is yet to come. Like, let's go.
I'm looking forward to it, brother.
My sister said she thinks that the 40s are going to be she's like, it's going to be your best decade yet, and I'm already feeling like it's shaping up to be, and I hope the same for you, dude.
Well, I appreciate that, and same for you. And they say don't meet your heroes, but I think they're lying. I that has not been my experience, especially here today. So Nick, I
Thanks, man.
appreciate your time, brother. Really do.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
I believe